Today we're out here at Willow Springs, the real Willow Springs. There's a joint mixer between the Roseman Chamber of Commerce and the Kern Antelope Valley Historical Association. And I'm standing in the old building where for many years there was a rest stop. Even before that, it was where people crossing this vast desert would come for water.
Not working. Well, it was a little. Now it's working. Okay, well I know it is still and it's getting warm, although the draft through I think here helps a little bit.
Hey Gretchen, could you move over because the doorway is right behind you, and all we can see is the bright light.
I can't because of the switch.
Oh, the other way. Then move the other way. Can you move the other way?
Then we'll die.
That's better. Oh, so much better. Yes.
More people coming. This is going to be a little longer. Maybe I should go to the other side. Yeah. Okay, this is better.
That's good.
Well, welcome, everyone. And we're just delighted to have so many people. And we need to thank Richard for allowing us to come and use his
Thanks, Richard.
wonderful building. I'm going to talk a little bit about this building today. Before I do, there's some things I wanted to remind everyone about. Membership dues, our New Year started June 1st. So if you are a member and haven't paid your dues, they are due. And if you are paid, anybody who pays their dues, by the end of the meeting, gets a free poster from our 60th anniversary celebration. There will be no meetings in July and August. We are always start in July and August. Our September meeting will be a potluck at Siobhan's Latix Ranch, which is off 55th Street, which is always a lot of fun. I was hoping I might give you some updates on our museum project, but I don't have anything yet to report. Things are still being investigated, and we're still hopeful that we can work out some arrangements so that we will have a permanent facility in Roseman. I'm going to go ahead and talk just briefly about Ezra Hamilton because people want to eat. I was, again, needing to thank Richard because the information that I have on Ezra comes from material that has been on loan to me from Richard. And I just have a box of stuff that I have had access to. Not much time to go through it, but the pictures that you see over here on the display are all pictures, or they're copies of pictures that were in that box that I have from Richard. There's just wonderful information about Ezra and about Willow Springs. So let me talk to you a little bit about Ezra. Ezra was born February 22nd, 1833 in Brown County, Illinois. As a young man, he, I guess, had some adventurous spirit because at 16 he worked on the Mississippi River. And at 19, he started overland to California. Actually, he was headed to Shasta County. Of course, in those days, you traveled by ox team and wagon. Took 4 to 5 months to make the trip. I think by the time he got here, something I read said he was 20. He also met a lady on the trip and did not want to get involved with her until he had a fortune made. So, although he came to Shasta County, worked as a miner, he went to visit her in Oregon, because that's where she ended up, and got involved in the Rogue River Indian Wars. And there is quite a bit of the story that's been written on his involvement in the Rogue River Indian Wars. She eventually, I think, got tired of waiting for him to make a fortune. And after 7 years, she married somebody else. In 1856, he is supposed to be in San Francisco during what is called the Vigilante Troubles. I've not heard of that, but it was recorded. Now, a lot of this information we know because in his later years, Hamilton wrote his memoirs, or his reminiscences. There are currently 800, or more than 800 handwritten pages of his memories that are in the California State Library. They were donated to the library by some of the Stanley members. Of course, as in all reminiscences, he may sort of embellish a little, or not quite remember correctly. But they're very interesting, and some of them have actually been copied and printed, pieces of them. He did return east about the time of the start of the Civil War. And during the Civil War, he enlisted in the 1st Minnesota Regiment, and he served 2 years as a soldier for the Union Army in the Civil War. Now, it is reported in one of his reminiscences that he was at the surrender of Lee. I think there's probably no way to document that, but that's what he reports. After the war, he returned to Minnesota. In 1867, he married. He married a Harriet Moffett, who was a native of Illinois and the daughter of a judge. And they had 4 boys: Fred, Eugene, Lester, and Truman. In 1876, he came to Los Angeles, and he established the Addistine Stoneworks. He made the first cement pipe in Southern California. He pioneered its use in underground irrigation systems with some kind of a contraption that allowed him to continuously lay this cement pipe. And he really became quite successful. In 1884, his pottery business moved to East LA. And it was called the East Side Pottery Works. I even have the address on Well Street. And he made fire brick, hollow brick, drain tile, sewer and water pipe, jugs, stoneware, terracotta, flower pots, and etc. Now, of course, to make all this, he needed certain kinds of clay. And he did own several clay lands, or several pieces of land that manufactured this clay. Now I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a bit, but as I said, he was a very prolific writer, and he wrote something that was actually published in 1907, I believe, about his life after he left LA. Now, why did he leave LA? Well, I think there was an economic downturn in the late 1800s, and he had some real problems with money as well as his health failed. And so I'd like you, if you would take a minute, to sort of close your eyes, put yourself back in the late 1880s, and listen to Ezra Hamilton's words as he described coming into the Antelope Valley. And I hope my person heard the cue. Holler at him, yeah. Holler at Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Yep. You're on.
Being in a house, I concluded on camp, fixed up, took one of my sons with me and started for the desert or any place that we might have to go. I fished up on the north side of Antelope Valley, about 90 miles north of Los Angeles. Being of an industrious disposition, I commenced to prospect. Now, I prospect a little different from most prospectors. I saw a red looking hill on the north side of the valley. I liked the look of it. So I took my horse wagon and went into the gulches. They being short and steep, was easy to prospect. I took a sack of dirt, called it number 1, leaving a mark so if I could find a place in case there was something in the dirt. I kept this up until I got the wagon loaded, then drove 3 miles to a place where there was water and panned the dirt out. I found free gold in all the gulches. Then I tried on the north side of the hill, down the same. I also found gold. I learned to track Indians in the early times, and I read signs. I looked at that gold. It was rough. It lay among broken stones, not gravel. I said to myself, it's native to this place. Well, like the Irishman, I had surrounded it, so I wasn't long finding the lead. I happened to find the lead in a various place. There was a dike, or a large bunch of rocks that assayed about $35 a ton. I thought there was gold enough in that dike to pay for a 2-stamp mill, so I traded places, took my money that belonged to my family, and built a mill. When I came to break up that dike, if the gold had been put on with a whitewash brush, it would not have been much thinner. So I was in debt. Mill on hand, no pay rock or work. I did not give up. I kept on. My money was gone, so were friends. Family helped for a while, but they were short on means of support. My boys left me, said there wasn't nothing there. I worked alone, sunk a shaft on the lead. The ore run about $2 a ton. I'd carry the ore out on my back. Sometimes I was so weak I could hardly get a sack out of that shaft. I managed to get out about 3/4 of a ton. Just made a load for the horse. I got out 1 load a day. Kept that up until I got about 10 tons at the mill. Then I'd take the horse, gather sagebrush so we could fire the mill. I'd mill it. Get about $20 out of that 10-ton. Buy some more pork and beans, do it again. I mix sagebrush with hay to make it last. I kept this up for about 2.5 years. I had hopes of finally striking it. There's a rule among miners. If you have a color, follow it. Well, I finally become worn out, financially, physically, and almost mentally. If I could have got hurt, I might have laid up there in cars where there's no more. I was about to give up, an idea occurred to me. If I go down on the lower level, the lead runs diagonally across the hill. I went and looked around, saw nothing that looked like it had anything in it. Then I saw a little clay sticking to a rock that looked as if it might be a fastball. I scratched down with my hands, took a handful where I had water, found it must have had 25 cents in the horn. Went back, found it was scattered all around. Just then, I would have swapped places with Governor Gates. I didn't care so much for the money value, but I had triumphed over all that difficulty. I sacked 21 tons of dirt, had to pick the roots out of it while I was sacking, and sent it to Shelby Smelting Furnace. It brought $4,500 net in 60 days. I didn't owe anyone a cent. Everything being so unusual, I placed myself in the exact position I was in when I found that gold in the horn and had a Kodak picture taken, which might be titled "From Poverty to Wealth" or "Struck It All at Last." I've taken out some $200,000, and mine is hardly commenced to be worked. I own mine all alone. I've been offered large sums of money, but to give me a large sum of money at my age caused me a lot of trouble. But where it is, it didn't cause me no trouble. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those are Ezra's exact words as published in this magazine. It's called Out West. It is published in 1907, and the picture that he refers to is this picture, which has been circulated frequently, showing Ezra, striking it rich. And he certainly looks different in this picture than he does in later life. You will see has a little more fullness in his cheeks, and it's really full, filled out. So the story of hard times is certainly believable by just looking at his picture here. Okay, so he does strike it rich. Now this story starts as if he just sort of happened upon this red hill. But I really believe from reading other things that the red hill he's referring to, of course, is Tropico, and that he actually owned the clay mine on Tropico. So he sort of had a hint that there was something there, and he was really prospecting some of his in the area of land that he owned. 1897, he actually filed a mining claim on Tropico. Now, around 1900, he bought Willow Springs, where you now are. And it had belonged to Edward Beale. It was part of the land grant. All this area was part of the land grant that Lincoln gave to Beale, and that includes all of the Tahone Ranch. There was 160 acres that Hamilton bought from the Beale estate, because at that point in time, Edward Beale was no longer alive. And then he started, or Hamilton, then decided he would develop this area not only as housing for his miners, but also as a health resort. Because as many of you know, back in those days, coming to the desert was considered good for your health. In fact, my family is here because my grandmother had, they called it consumption, and came in the early 1900s to the desert because of her health. And she lived to be 100, so obviously worked for her. The energy, though, soon then really changed so that he really concentrated on Willow Springs and then did sell the mine. He also built in Rosamond a building because this was going to be a health resort, and of course the railroad was in by this time, and so right across from the railroad he built the Hamilton Hotel, and there are pictures of the Hamilton Hotel over there on some of the displays. And pieces of the Hamilton Hotel actually still exist today. There is still a building in Rosamond that has part of the old Hamilton Hotel wall in it. During the Tehachapi earthquake, the Hamilton Hotel lost its second story because it became unsafe. And then, sometime I think in the early 50s, they took a lot of this wonderful stonework off of the front of it. Ezra was exceptionally fond of parties, and you will also see on the display, 4th of July was one of his favorite times. And in 1904, there is a picture of their 4th of July party, and I was amazed when I looked at the number of people. I didn't know there were that many people in 1904 in the Antelope Valley, but they were obviously all here at Ezra's 4th of July party. Ezra passed away in 1914. His sons continued to operate Willow Springs after his death. They raised hay here. In fact, there's a picture of some of the mules, probably the mules that were hauling from Cyril's Dry Lake over to Mojave. Then the mules would come on and collect hay and then haul it back to the Cyril's Dry Lake area. The one thing that's interesting about Ezra's passing, he passed away in 1914 on the 4th of July. Are there any questions? Please take a few minutes and there is some interesting information over there. There is one thing, and Richard, I don't know if you know this, I never have found this in any of the material, except there is a picture of a 4th of July party, and it says on the picture that this is the marriage of Elsie and Ezra. And then there is also a picture that's on the board of this, because there was a stage back here, and it says the marriage of Ezra and Elsie. But nowhere do I find any other mention of Elsie.
I don't know her.
You know.
Typical guy.
Well, I do know that Richard has been in contact with some of the Hamilton family, and I do want at some time to get somebody in the Hamilton family to go through that box, because there's pictures of people that I don't have to read.
I can arrange that.
Yeah, that would be neat,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know a few people. So, I don't know who she was, Elsie, but I think Mary won't call that.
Yeah, so,
I think their picnic though took place in Bean Springs,
that's what it says on
right,
the,
which is about a mile that way.
yeah, that's what it says. It says it's Bean Springs. That was the
Bean
picnic
Cattle Ranch.
after the wedding, yeah. Anyway, if you have no questions,
There was
Jerry.
was there a question? Yes.
when
when he was developing this resort, was it still the stage stop? Did he run that too?
Well, the stage had pretty much stopped at that time because of the railroad. The railroad came through Rosamond about 1878, 1877, 1876, along in there. And so by then, although this at one time had been the main route between LA and the Central Valley, and I'm talking about this area right here, Willow Springs. Nobody knew about Rosamond. This is where they came. But I think by the 1900s, the early 1900s, that had stopped. That was, the railroad was the big.
Yeah, actually a little correction, the stage stopped coming through here about 1907, and then buses started coming shortly afterwards. This was on the bus route.
It's, you know, there is a little bit of the original stage stop building that still exists right behind the building that's across the street here. And Richard has tried to protect it by putting some more walls and putting the top on it to keep the rain off. But there's some of the original adobe stage building. Is there anything else you can add, Richard?
No, you're not fine.
Okay. Are there any other questions? All right, let's see, is the word. We need to thank some of the local businesses for supplying some of the food. And thank you all. And you know, I have a list. Terry, where's Terry? Where's Terry?
He's outside.
Okay, I have a list. And then we also need to thank Richard because he provided some of the food also.